Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Rasmo. I wasn't planning to make a video on this, but something inside me compelled me to make one, and I'm trusting my gut that it'll land on the right audience. But my fangirl tendencies got the better of me, and now we're here. For those who already know what I'll be talking about from the title, thank you for clicking, and hopefully you'll fangirl with me by the end of the video. But for those who aren't aware, let me give you an insight on the early baby birth of a ship named Klay. Now that is the ship name stemming from two characters, Fidel and Klay. Two characters from the TV show that is still airing as I'm writing the script on Philippine television called Maria Clara and Ibarra, or in English, Maria Clara and Ibarra. To make it easier to understand the premise, it's basically an isekai of this girl named Klay. She was transported into the story of a novel very known to us Filipinos titled Noli Me Tangere, written by the national hero of the Philippines, Dr. Jose Rizal. Now, I've learned from school that that isn't his official title, but a title given by the people from way back when. But that's a whole can of worms I'm not going to be talking about today, but let's just say that that title is well deserved. Instead, I'll be talking about a ship from the series that really stole the hearts of viewers. I want to talk about why this ship works so well because gosh darn it, these two would only have one, or if we're lucky, two interactions each episode, and they're still filling us up with butterflies in our stomach, or as we call it, kilig. Isa bawat episode, pero kita ko sa TikTok, kilig na kilig yung mga tao. Landi-landi nyo, naku po. Kasama na ako dyan. Kinilig din ako. First off, I can easily pinpoint why the ship works so well from the get-go because their dynamic is my all-time favorite, and that's the enemies to lovers trope. But they are handled well. They're not a trope for the sake of having the trope in the show, but it's a trope that came from two characters already established to be proud and strong in their own right, not backing down from an argument or fight, and then these two get introduced and they just clash right from the start. And the enemies to lovers trope was just inevitable from that point on. I mean, they could still just be enemies and never turn to lovers, but we're all hoping. And since it's still early on in the series, I am just praying as much as everyone else that these two might get close to being together. Fidel on the first introduction is a misogynistic, pompous rich guy who lives in a time where most Filipinos aren't educated to read and write, and the women aren't given the education that the Spaniards or some Filipino men were given. So putting someone like Klay, who is from the modern world where education is more accessible, in the picture just leads to more interesting situations and humbles Fidel in every chance she gets. Like in the scene where they were mocking Klay in English, thinking she wouldn't understand them, but she shocked them by speaking in English as well. Their reactions were priceless. Even Ibarra, the dude that took her in, was just as surprised to see how she could understand them.
This woman is losing it. What foolishness is she talking about?
It's true what they say, but hunger is one of the causes of insanity. See.
I beg your pardon. I'm just stating a fact that intelligence has nothing to do with one's gender.
Ikaw ba ay nakapaglakbay o nag-aaral sa Londres o sa Amerika? Kung kaya't maalam ka sa kanilang wika?
O, edi ngayon, super tanong kayo.
And what's so great about Klay's character is that she's not like the girl boss in recent media where they advertise it as women empowerment, but then the character is just rude as hell. Wherein Klay does speak out and she does it in a civil and mature manner and only escalates things when the other person chooses to escalate it first. Like when she had this debate with Fidel. Being the quick-tempered dude that he is, almost hit Klay before Ibarra stopped him. And Klay did not hesitate to smack him first and threaten him that she will fight back.
I hate to say this, Mr. Fidel whatever your name is, but your idiotic and yes, your misogynistic outburst is quite annoying.
Ano sabi mo?
Sige.
Even Ibarra was shook to see a woman fight back because reminder, the setting is Spanish colonial period, roughly 1800s, where the women were raised to be meek and gentle. Pero kay Klay na, ako po, pardagulan talaga. Hahambalusin niya talaga kung sino, hindi siya magpapape. You see that these two have a personality of their own aside from their dynamic together, which makes their interactions more organic and not forced just because the plot demands them to have this silly, cute moment. What makes the ship Klay work, at least in my opinion, is at the start you really didn't think they were gonna be a thing. Me, and I think majority of the people thought we'd have a love triangle with Ibarra, Klay, and Maria Clara. But then these two met, and the more Klay took Fidel down a pedestal and watched them bicker was so entertaining to watch that just by watching them in the early episodes with these two, I could already feel the fan base forming. I said this before, they have the enemies to lovers trope, and I know saying the word trope and cliche gets a bad rap, but having cliches and common tropes are good when handled well, and this was handled with care. I mean, this whole show was handled with care to the set and costume costume design and the dialogue, it's all great. But when it comes to them handling these two characters in particular, it reminds me of my favorite anime Ranma 1/2, where we only get short, sweet moments, or what we call dere moments in the anime community, and a hell of a lot of tsun moments, where they just bicker and fight a lot. And watching how they write Fidel and Clay's interaction made me feel like it's that good. It's like Ranma 1/2. And I feel like one Filay moment per episode is intentional, and they know what they're doing. They're not giving us too much so we won't get sick of it, and they're not depriving moments from us so much that we're starved and wonder if we get the next Filay moment in the next 10 years. So to me, it's just right. Like, yeah, one moment or two isn't that much to work with, but the fact that we only have at least 4 short moments of Fidel and Klay means that those short moments are enough to make us care about these two. And those moments aren't even romantic. They're mostly comedic, and it still manages to make us ship these two. And when I noticed that these two have the enemies to lovers trope, you bet your ass I watched every night with my family. Listen, guys, I grew up with Inuyasha, Special A, and Maid-sama, and yeah, you might say they're not enemies to lovers, but they sure are close to that. So seeing this ship and watch as it develops is such a treat for me. See, the charm of enemies to lovers trope is, which I'm sure you've heard of this analogy for the 100th time, but I'm still gonna repeat it for the people in the back, is because the progress of the relationship is apparent. You can easily see how their dynamic changes. From Fidel and Klay really annoying and irritated at each other, basically just hate each other's guts, to slightly tolerating each other and even putting aside their differences when need be in certain situations, like when Klay insisted that he should speak up to their main villain, a corrupt priest from the church, and even when he was super nervous, he still did what she asked, and it was adorable. It was a slight interaction, but it told so much.
Walang galang ng Hope, Riley. Ngunit nasaksihan po namin ang buong pangyayari. At tama po ang aking kaibigan na hindi niya po kayo sinaktan. Ipinatong lang niya ang kanyang kamay sa... Tumahimik ka!
Then moving on to not liking each other yet, but not hating each other either. Like when Fidel thought Klay liked him, and he seemed really happy about it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a die-hard fan of the ship, but that moment gave me a little smirk. Barbie Fortesa was the actor playing as Klay in the series, really has some facial expressions that are just hilarious to watch. And it makes the scene work. She's so perfect for the role that I feel like it won't have much of the same impact it has now if it was done by somebody else. Look at this scene and see how much her expression and the scenario really comes together.
Victoria, hindi ba't kapag ang isang namamaypay ng ganyang kabilis, habang patingin-tingin sa isang Ginoo, ay nangangahulog ang may gusto ka sa kanya?
No, because I mean the look on her face! The confusion and shock with him winking at her out of the blue. She definitely got the ick. She was just fanning herself because it was a hot sunny day. She needed to cool off, and this guy walks up feeling as confident as ever and thinking that that's the reason Klay is so brash with him was because she likes him. Oh wow! The misunderstanding. They are my bread and butter. Keep it coming. Anyway, that's just my little ramble about the show that I really like, which is rare since I don't really get to like TV shows that much, not since Kambal Karibal or Twin Rivals, another TV show aired in the same station. I hope you like it. My editor will be rushing this video for sure because every episode of the series pops up every day and I don't want to miss any new Filay moments. So yeah, big thanks to my wonderful, wonderful patrons for supporting me through and through. A big shout out to my patrons in the Butternut tier. Piranet, Jacob K, Calchua, Christian V, and Cross. And a big shout out to Epic Knight in the Dill Pickles tier. So yeah,